All right. Thank you for joining us again here at the Cerberus Den. Today, for our competitive tournament that we had on Saturday, we have Josh and Holly, both running Amber Steel. Holly running the little more control version of the two decks. In Josh's case, he's not going full Lilo, but he is definitely more aggressive than Holly's version. With me today, I got Jeremiah, and he's going to help us kind of commentate and go over both players. Mirror match is definitely something that is very difficult to play around. What do you think, Jeremiah?
Yeah, it's interesting when you're watching Amber Steel versus any other deck because it becomes much more control oriented. The board state's a lot more important. You know, if you're running Amber Steel into, let's say, Ruby Amethyst, it's about getting your board out and questing and getting ahead very fast, where the mirror matchup is quite different. And then it also comes down to the variances of the decks as well.
Yeah, I feel it's definitely more. We'll say you're scared of your opponent when you know what they have. They know that you have the big tank. They know the grab your swords, which will wipe out most Amber Steel decks. So I think what is very, very important in this matchup is who goes first. Usually it's not nearly as important, but if that one extra resource makes all the difference, because it's not necessarily card advantage. It's who gets to play their big tank first. Who is going to get to play their grab their swords first and wipe the other person's board. So you either are scared and you're not playing as much stuff out and you're holding back, which is obviously another advantage you have when you're doing that mirror matchup.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the other big things about going first is, you know, when you're at the start of the game and you mulligan, you're mulliganing for a hand that you want and to curve out. The person on the play gets the first opportunity to also whole new world, which can really put a big detriment on your game plan and your mulligan. And even having that advantage alone is already big, not counting all the other plays that could happen. And that really can set the tempo of the game and really put you behind just from the start. Especially depending on the version. You know, if you're running the Lantern version and you're going first, you're already ahead in terms of your ink count or your ability to play cards, and you're ahead in regards that you get the first action, which is really, really powerful.
Yeah. So as you can see, both of us are basically forgoing the idea of let's go Lilo Simba turn one and bodyguard immediately to the Captain Hook Eric's, which is very much more the control and keep that early game in check. And that's basically both the mindsets here as we're going through this, as you can see. So Holly definitely has control with Prince Eric and Hook being able to take out most things, and Josh has got his Lantern down early. So even though he did not play first, that Lantern basically put him at an even pace now with Holly.
Yeah, having the Lantern out prior to Holly is already really big advantage. So not only did you catch up in terms of your ink, but you also got to draw first, so it gives you a little bit more options and hand available. And Holly not having that down, you guys are now on equal footing, and you are now threatening, you know, that turn 3 shift stitch into whatever play may happen, and that's scary alone, and it's something you really have to take into consideration going into your next following turns.
So it looks like Holly did Ariel. I believe she just got grabbed her swords. And we saw she already had a whole new world in her hand, so she can, on a whim, next turn, if Josh gets out of control here, she can wipe the board with grab your swords or refresh everything by doing a whole new world and keeping the board presence she has.
Yeah, so he definitely has, you know, Josh on this side has some things to consider. You know, do you go wide? Do you shift? Do you play like playing Cinderella here is pretty good, because then if Holly sings grab your swords, at least you have Cinderella on board that's able to sing the following turn, which can set you up as well. Which is why some of these variants actually have been including Cinderella. It's a card you can play that's able to sing as well. So you have Ariel, you have Cinderella, you have Rockstar Stitch, you have Shift into your big tank, and it just gives you a little bit more versatility with having bodies on board to be able to sing.
So, yeah, looks like Holly's going to go ahead and sing the grab your swords and start going wide. Yeah, I like Cinderella a lot because not only if you have, obviously Josh has Lantern here, so he can play it early. But with that big butt of Cinderella, she can definitely take out most early game stuff and scene and quest for two. So she's very very versatile in what she can do. She can scene all the songs you need her to scene when you need them to. She's got a big enough butt so you can soak some damage and then Rapunzel to draw some extra cards. Or she can simply just run into things that have 2 or less health, so she can start taking out the hooks and start knocking through the Simbas, take out the Leelas, stuff like that you would have to worry about early game.
Yeah, and it's really nice because even if that's not the case, and let's say you're able to like use grab your swords and use your cards, and then you do quests with her, you have that ability. Then you can also, like if you have aerial and stuff on board as well, you can also heal, and it's something that you're not going to do often, but it's something
One
you
more
can
tool.
consider, and it's one more tool in the
Yeah, just
arsenal.
one more thing she can do. Yeah.
Exactly. So we did see that Josh picked up another grab your swords. So he does have 2 in his hand, and I believe that last card was a big tink as well. So he does have a lot of damage coming to clear this board. So I haven't really seen what's in Holly's hand. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of play she makes here, or if she has the whole new world to get rid of that. And then that also, you can read wrong or you can read right here. And it's turns like this can make a really big difference on the pace of the game.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Josh didn't get to play anything on his turn at all. Like you said, he's got big Tink. He has 5 resources for Tink. If he has, this is gonna hurt. So there goes 2 grab your swords and a Tink. Which obviously, if Josh had a resource next turn, he could have sung grab your swords to Cinderella and played grab your swords as well, and that would have just completely wiped Holly's board. But with the whole new world, everything he had planned and was setting up the turn before, playing nothing, just kind of went away.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, and it's also especially when you're between equally skilled players and players that have been playing a lot and play testing their deck to its full capabilities. You'll start to see lines like that as well, like the fact that Josh didn't play anything on that turn kind of gives Holly reads like, all right, I'm assuming he has like grab your swords. He might have a whole new world. He might have Tinkerbell. It kind of shows that his hand's a little top heavy, which gave her a really good time to whole new world and made the decision a bit easier.
Yeah, and if Josh doesn't get a grab your sword soon, her board's just get out of control. And if, like I said, looking at the discard pile with 2 in there and a Tink, it's not looking good. It very much is going to be difficult to come back because the wider Holly's board gets, the more it's going to become a problem because Josh has not established a board really of any kind at this point. So, yep, knowing he needs that answer, he's going to try to make sure he gets grabber swords and he gets a whole new world.
So, I mean, that is something that, let's say the Cinderella sticks and he's able to get off this whole new world. We're not quite sure what's in Holly's hand. We didn't really talk about the fact that now she has out 2 lanterns as well. So it looks like she's sitting on a total of 7 if you count it, 5 ink in the inkwell plus the 2 lanterns, which also makes for playing Surfer Stitch, which if she drops that down, that's an incredibly big body for Steel to deal with, and it's hard for them to deal with. And she's got a wide board, so now you've got a really hard and awkward board that you have to interact with.
And I'll tell you what, Simba always does a lot of works in any game I see with Amber because, in theory, like, what's the big deal? It's just a 2/3 bodyguard. He only costs 2, just get rid of him. But early game, for most of the game, would be even like the bigger name people that people love, like your Cusco's, your Rapunzel's, your stuff like that people play in almost every deck. Like that still can't take out a Simba. So this Cinderella's been sitting over there, and in theory could have maybe taken out the hook the turn before, could have taken out that Simba. The steel Simba, but that other Simba is just sitting there just fine right now, and he's doing a lot of work, even though you wouldn't think that would be a big of difference. But 3 health on one is a very big deal, which is why I'm very excited to see how the new steel Prince bodyguard is going to work out because he's even more difficult to take out because he has resist 1. So your Tinkerbells and stuff like that are not going to do as much work as it used to.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the deck shapes up going into the next set. Simba's fantastic in regards, playing him even if you were to go Lilo on 1, you have Simba on 2, you have Ariel on 3. And then you have.
Ooh. That's a pretty Tinkerbell, sorry.
Those enchanted tinks. I think he gets automatic lore or something for playing
You
that.
should, I feel. If you've got if you got the balls to play that, you should get an advantage of some kind. At bare minimum, it distracts your opponent.
I was blinded for a minute. I couldn't see what was played.
So finally, Hook can take out Simba, who's been doing so much work this whole game.
Kind of looking at the options here to see where the board state's going. Holly's board is just incredibly wide, and having that surfer down now too, and it's really awkward position to be in. Grab your swords would be fantastic here, and granted he does still have that whole new world in hand. Josh being able to sing that to maybe get into grab your swords or get into some options to be able to deal with this board. Could easily put him back in the game.
Problem right now is, without an answer right now, it looks like at bare minimum, Holly's going to be able to go up to 16 on her turn. And from there, I mean, Josh is still sitting at 0. So it's not like this is a close game and, like you said, he can wipe that board, but being up 16 lore, I mean, that's... If that was Ruby Amethyst, it would be a different story, but I see it very difficult for him to be able to come back, especially to deal with that Stitch who has 8 health. He would need multiple smashes and run multiple characters in to be able to even think about getting through the thing. That's questing for 2 every turn.
Yeah, and it's scary too. So let's say Josh even had to grab your swords, and he's able to clear out all that stuff, and he gets the surfer a bit low, and then let's say Holly has something like Rapunzel. Like sure, you have a whole new world in hand, but now that Stitch is back up to almost full health. And then you're having to find a way to deal 8 to it again.
Mm-hmm.
And even with what you have represented on board, you can just hit 8. And it clears out, 2 of your pieces on board.
Looks like Josh gets his own Simba out there. See what he does with that Cinderella.
Yeah, I mean, he's got options to either quest.
I think I would take out the aerial. Because by taking out the aerial, it's 1 less singer, right? It's one more thing it can do. So I'm not sure he realized that she had 1 damage on her already. Because Cinderella does 2, so could have taken out the aerial. Simba's obviously not a threat once it's already hit the field, right? So
it could have been in regards that it sets a more favorable trade for Josh, running into the prince, or running in there, only having 3 damage on the Cinderella now instead of 4, because then if Holly was to play, let's say like Big Tinkerbell, that kills the Cinderella on play. So now just playing like a Big Tinkerbell, which I saw in Holly's hand, doesn't kill it.
So it looks like she used Surfer Stitch to take Simba, which put 3 damage, so the heal 3, draw 3 that everyone hates to see. It just got Holly another 3 cards, so that's another problem we're having when we're looking at this too. You talk about card advantage in general. Not only does she have 2 lanterns, not only does she have a full board, but she also has a full hand. I think she has like 6 cards in her hand right now. So even if Josh gets his answer, she's just going to fill the board right back up again the next turn. And there's just not much you can do about it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of what we saw in Holly's hand just there from the little bit of showing is, she had the aerial which she played. She has a Big Tinkerbell in hand. She has a whole new world in hand. So she's got plenty of tools. It also looks like she got a Be Our Guest as well, which is another tool. So she's got all these tools and a full board that even if Josh was to, let's say sing a whole new world next turn, he's still got to find the right pieces to be able to deal with this board, and her losing her hand at this point isn't as bad as it could be because of having the board control. Seeing, looks like she's looking at the options here.
Yeah, Josh has definitely said if she doesn't quest and she starts to second guess herself, she could definitely get punished with a fully healed Tink and the option to sing something like Grab Your Swords next turn. Being only at 9 lore, is much different than, as I mentioned before, if she just straight quests and got up to 16 lore. So 9 lore you can come back. 16 is very, very difficult against an Amber Steel. So she's definitely playing a little safe. She's trying to make sure she's clearing that board before she starts questing again, which might be the right call.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be the right call. Sometimes, it's hard to make a read, and you can't play around everything. For me, I'm definitely more inclined to just take the questing route here, knowing that I have a full hand, knowing that I have the ability to re-get the stuff out on the board. And if everything goes bad, I do have a whole new world in hand. So I would not be playing as defensively. Like I told you, it is funny when you watch the mirror matchup. It does become way more control-based. But don't let that always dictate you going into a control type of mentality when you have such a board state. It's not going to hurt you to quest up to 16, and I feel like that's a lot better than removing, 2 things off the board. I do get removing the singers though, and that's the important part.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to sing a whole new world, sing grab your swords, gives you a lot of flexibility in your plays, and removing those options make it even more difficult.
So at this point, Josh once again is staring at a board that, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 again. And it's a very different board than it was the turn before, with all the trades that happened on Holly's side. So Josh is once again behind that curve of trying to figure out how to deal with that board. And it's very difficult when you have the big butts of Surfer and Rapunzel. So the attacking Simba is going to be able to do 2 something, decides to finish off the Eric.
Yeah, and that's still just really awkward because that's a very strong board. Holly's still representing 5 on her side. Still got full health on those. The Rapunzel being at 5, the Surfer having 8, and then the Ariel still being at 3. He does play out the Rockstar, which is nice, and it
It's
might
3
give him-
attack. That's a very important. For most Amber Steel cards, that's not the case.
Yeah, the 3 is important here, but again, it's really tough in this spot. Not only is Holly up in ink, she's up in hand size, she's got the board control, she's up in lore, so it's like everything is in Holly's favor in this match over Josh's. But it's not by any means over. All it does take is one really good play and getting in the right sequence of cards to change the match around. And that's where you can actually fall into that trap of controlling the board too long that your opponent's able to take it back. Ink and the Prince there.
So she doesn't have enough to do Big Tank, but she can play Ariel if she wants. I don't know if I would do. I know I would not. I would not do a whole new world right here because she has the card advantage. So giving Josh 7 cards seems like a very bad idea right now.
Yeah.
So she quests. That gets her up to 15, I believe.
Yes. 14.
Sorry.
Yeah, the 2, 2, and 1. And now Holly's representing, 20.
Yeah.
Over 20, and that requires Josh to have a way to deal with multiple things here, which he can definitely clear out at least 2 of these. Has the option to run Tinkerbell into Ariel and dealing 2 damage to Rapunzel and clearing Rapunzel with Rockstar. I also am not quite sure what all Josh has in hand. That could be other tools for him to use. So it's not over, but it's he's still got 4 he has to deal with after that.
Looks like, look at Josh saying he's got Rockstar, Simba, I'm not sure on the other card.
I believe it's still a whole new world.
Is it? Okay. A Smash would be very useful. I know he's not running many Smash, I think he's running 2 in this version. Which is obviously really crucial for, like I keep mentioning these big butts, which Amber Sapphire is always an issue for fighting against this deck, and Holly has a similar board to what one would look like. She's basically got her Robin Hood there on the top as a 4/4, and then the big 8 health and the 5 health. So it looks like he's gonna do a whole new world.
Yeah, it's trying to
Looking for
find
an answer.
options. Yeah, give him answers. Getting that grab your sword or smashes, giving him some more tools to work with because he didn't really have much in his hand that was going to help him impact the board there. And this top card's a beast. we saw in hand.
The problem with swords right now is it's not going to take any one thing out. So Tink, in theory, can finish off one, use the 2 to take out the other. So yeah, she would in theory be able to quest for 4 still, which is enough to slow her down. At least for the next turn to not win.
Yeah, do we know if Josh has ink this turn?
Not sure.
The only reason why, and I've seen this line of play, and it's interesting, and it's actually worked for me before, is I had a big tink out, and I only had you grab your swords, but I had a big tink in hand. Didn't have enough ink to play both, but I was able to shift out big tink to deal that point of damage on my tink, and then use grab your swords. And if he had one more ink, he could do that if that was an option, which would clear out, add more damage onto the board, and it would clear out the aerial itself, and then able to run the Tinkerbell into, let's say, the Rapunzel to get rid of the beast, and now it's only left with Surfer at 5 health, or 5 willpower.
Okay, so he takes out Ariel, and he's going to deal 2 to, I'm going to guess, Beast. Yep, Beast. Then we got Graber Swords, so it takes out Beast and then does 2 to Rapunzel and Stitch. So yeah, that'll leave Holly to be at 18 next turn. Still has a few resources left. Plays as an Ariel.
Let's see what he can pull from this.
Oh no, smashes are going to the bottom along with everything else. It's not a good whiff to have right now.
Yeah, that's an Ariel, an opportunity for Ariel there to help. Can really set you back when she does miss and doesn't give you any kind of tool to work with.
And good for Holly too, because Josh is still at 0 lore. He has been behind this entire game. Like, he has not had a chance to breathe. Holly, even though she's playing the more control version of the deck, ironically, than Josh is, she flipped that switch in her brain and said, nope, I'm going to be doing full control of this game, and she's successfully done it. So she has been able to keep the board clear, which gives her those turns in between where there's nothing to play, I'll go ahead and quest. And now it's 14-0. Oof. Drawing 2 cards.
Yeah, there's a reason Rapunzel costs as much as she does right now. She is insanely powerful. Like you said, Holly definitely shifted the gear and kind of set her game plan. What's interesting is when you do play more control, you play a lot more reactive. But even in this sense she's playing, because of the way Amber Steel works, she's playing very proactive, but in a control manner. And being able to do both and not just be in this reactive state is incredibly powerful, because now you're making your opponent answer you while you're ahead of everything. It's very strong. Another lantern coming out there, so just plenty of options for a while. Rock stars, putting so much lore on the board. And yeah, I'm not quite sure. Josh has found, 3 grab your swords now, and put a smash at the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, the health is just too high. There's no way to get through it. Tinkerbell can do damage, and she's nice, but 8 health of Surfer Stitch, 5 health Rapunzel, 5 health Stitch. That's definitely Steel's biggest weakness.
Yeah, big bodies hurt Steel. Also, there's a line of play there where I potentially wouldn't have quested at all with that Surfer or with that Rapunzel, because I was representing so much on board. I don't want to give my opponent any kind of outs or any options. So if I just leave those standing, he can't run Tinkerbell in to do any damage. He can't, grab your sword, still doesn't clear anything. It makes it really, really hard. So not that it's the wrong play, but I would have been more inclined there to not quest at all, knowing I'm sitting at 18 with a represented, so you have 3, 5, 7, 9 on the board. Could have been a better option to not give your opponents any outs. See what Josh has here. He is digging for answers.
Whole New World's definitely not going to help right now.
He would need to be able to deal let's see what the options are.
I think if he was able to get a smash, he'd be able to clear this board.
A smash would be incredible right now because, yeah, like you said.
But he doesn't have it. So it looks like we're going to go to game 2. While we're getting ready for game 2, just want to remind everyone that here at Cerberus Inn, we play games not only here in the store, but we record them to do some commentating and talk to you all after the fact. If you notice those tokens that they had on their characters as we were playing the game, the damage tokens, the bodyguard token, we actually make all those ourselves. So if you're interested in anything like that, you can go to CerberusIn.com, go to our store section, and we have lots of different options of upgrades for the game. There in the center, our basically wood engraved score token, we have that there as well. So we very much appreciate anyone who's looking to, like I said, get upgrades for their games. Or if you just like enjoying this content, simply like, subscribe. We really appreciate it. We're still kind of new to this, so we're tweaking something every week. And as you can see, one of the new little additions we have is showing the colors of the ink there at the top and our new lore counter there in the center. So any comments you guys can give below to kind of give more feedback on how to make things better, we very much appreciate it, because our goal is, like I said, to get as good as we can, make something better every single time we play. We actually just all got back from a 2K in Lexington, where Holly here on the right actually went undefeated. She ended up tying her last couple games to get into the top 8, but she didn't lose any games, didn't lose any rounds all weekend with this deck she's piloting now. Josh got 11th place, similar record. He went 4-2. There was maybe 6 or 7 people, I think, that had 4-2, and it was all about tiebreakers getting a top 8. So Josh very well could have topped 8 as well. So these two players very much know how to pilot these decks. They've been doing it multiple times. Josh has topped 8 multiple times with his deck, and Holly has practiced a lot recently, which is obviously why she's been able to do so well in a tournament this past weekend. Our next event coming up is actually November 12th. It is a 1K that we are hosting. So if you're in the Cincinnati area or you want to come out, we would love to have you out. We're going to have not only the 1K, but we'll have food and some fun, like Disney themed treats and stuff like that we'll have for everybody on site. And obviously, as I mentioned before, our tokens, our t-shirts, any type of upgrade that we can make for this game, we'll have that there, along with singles that everyone needs for their decks. Probably some sealed product as well, maybe do some side events. But yeah, like I said, check us out on CerberusIn.com and all the information we have on what's coming up and things that you can get. It's all there for everyone to see.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at those card sleeves, those are awesome.
Those are very pretty card sleeves, aren't they?
Well.
You know, it's funny you say that because, I mean, obviously I'm biased. I really like the sleeves because it's got our logo on it. But I tell you what, one thing I've noticed with this game and live games is if people have not played games like the World of Warcraft card game, for example, which is similar in how they handle the resources, when you have solid color opaque sleeves, it's very difficult to see how many, even Holly fanning her hand out like that, you still have to really focus to figure out how many cards are there. And she did that to be nice, but with something like our sleeves, for example, you're able to very easily see the distinction of how many cards are in play or how many cards are in hand, which is a big deal, because I will say this, I don't know how many people have done a lot of tournaments in play, but there's a lot of times where there's been confusion and judges had to be called regarding how much ink is in your inkwell. They only hit 5 before, and setting down your hand to the side, stuff like that just makes it very easy. And it's not that anyone should be accused of cheating, it's more of just the nature of the game. Everything's face down at all times. So it makes it very tricky when you have to make sure that you aren't getting called out, because obviously it's a he said, she said, right? And no one wants to be in that situation.
Yeah, it always makes it awkward. And it's a competitive game, especially when you're going, any card game's going to be competitive, but when you're going to these events, all of that, those little details matter. And, people are going to bring them up. And it looks like this game, Josh had a much better start, but he's also on the play this game. And we talked about how strong it is being on the play to be able to be the first to be able to dictate these actions. He has a whole new world, it looked like, in hand. He's got a lantern. So he's going into some turns, but Holly's already got that lantern down. She's already establishing a board as well. And, she's not far behind because of that. Looks like she inks that surfer there. It's pretty far away from where she's at right now. see what she does sitting on 4 here. Now, did Josh get that whole new world from the aerial there?
Yeah.
So Holly does know that Josh has the whole new world in hand. So with that in mind, it kind of can help her play around losing too much out of her hand. Whereas if she didn't know you had a whole new world, might be able to get more punished by not getting more out of her hand.
Mm-hmm. As you notice, a big difference too. It's whoever gets that hook first, whoever gets that Simba first. It just makes a dramatic difference because your opponent basically can't do anything. If you decide to attack with your hook, for example,
Ooh,
you can be really punished. And Grab Your Swords is perfect timing right here because now Josh is safe to quest because there's no way Ariel can take care of that Simba unless... I mean, she can't even drop a Tink if she wanted to.
No.
So her only true answer right this second would be a Grab Your Swords her own. But drawing cards is always nice, I heard. So Rapunzel does her job.
Yeah, see, that's an area where I'm not sure how I feel about it. So I get being able to heal the Ariel, but the Ariel's not able to even trade into the Simba. And you just drew more cards knowing that Josh has a whole new world in hand. She does have the grab there, which is nice. But it only really took out the hook. And I guess now Josh isn't able to just trade into the Ariel. But drawing more cards when you know he has a whole new world can be
Yeah, there you go. He's
rough.
going to stay in a whole new world. So I don't know if you noticed, but Josh didn't ink last turn, and he played first. So he's actually behind in ink right now.
Yeah, well, he did have the uninkables in hand, so he had the whole new world. He had the Hades. I don't think he really had a card he was able to ink in that situation, but he is still able to ink this turn, correct?
No, he did just ink.
Oh, okay.
So he now has 4.
All right, there's the Rapunzel healing the Simba there.
Quest for 2. That's 3 more lore than Josh had last game, so that's actually really good.
He is on the board this time.
he is getting better. Josh was asking Holly what she discarded with the whole new world. Very, very important to know that, by the way. And once again, if anyone's not played in a lot of in-game tournaments, you're 100% allowed to go through your opponent's discard pile whenever you want. It's very, very important, especially in the game right now where there's not as many cards. So for the most part, people are running 4 of almost everything in their deck. So it's very easy to start counting and realizing how much they have left in their deck right now.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. It makes the world a difference. Card games in general are very based off of information, and the more information you have, the better choices you're able to make. If you're playing a board and you're like, can I go wide or not? You look in their discard, and they've got 3 Grab Your Swords, and they're only halfway through their deck. Chances of them having another one is relatively low, so you can take that risk of going wide, knowing your opponent doesn't really have too many options.
Looks like Holly's going to run Rapunzel's face right into Simba, so she can heal 2 and draw 2 with another Rapunzel.
Just dig in some more.
Definitely drawn a lot of cards, for sure.
This card's a whole new world there. I don't know if she has another one in hand, but usually when you have an Amber Steel player do that, they either have another one or they're not planning on wanting to get rid of their hand.
Yeah, I feel like at this point she has so much card advantage and the board is huge that of all the cards in her hand, I don't know if drawing in a fresh set of 7 is what she's looking for right now.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, does decide to take out the Simba there and have the damage on Ariel. While Josh is ahead in lore, Holly's got a very, is getting that wide board state again, is in terms of ink ahead, but not really. Josh has the 2 lanterns, even missing that turn of ink. He still has 5 plus 2 lanterns, so he's sitting on 7. And it looks like Holly's sitting on 6, so he's still ahead, which is nice. And here comes our third lantern.
Why not?
Yeah, lantern, when you can get them down in the mid stages of the game, is very, very powerful and leads to a lot of explosive plays, and that's kind of why the deck is so powerful. Um, with the Rockstar, with Whole New Worlds, and just being able to flood out your entire hand and refill your hand is so strong.
So it looks like he's saying grab your swords, which is pretty good because now he's safe to quest with Rapunzel, or he was not before with the Captain Hook and Simbas and stuff in play. Um, and he's able to keep, like I said, keep questing, so he's at 5. So yeah, just one grab your swords is enough to completely change the board state.
Definitely, Captain Hook's fantastic. Arguably for me, probably one of the best one drops in Lorcana currently. Just being able to answer 3 willpower as a one drop is very, very strong, and that translates into Prince Eric as well.
I'm curious to see with this unstopped Rockstar going in with, let's see, 6, 8, potentially 9 resources
Yeah, that's a
to
lot.
dump. We'll see. Holly's been definitely winning on the card advantage drawing with Rapunzel, but we'll see what he's about to do here.
Oh, it looks
Let's
like he
see
has
what-
a 4th lantern. I see sitting there. And,
Alright, so
yeah.
Simba draw.
Oh, we saw that pretty
Yeah, pretty,
tink
I
go
saw
into
it.
the hand. This looks like he's got Tinkerbell, a Stitch, another lantern. I'm not sure on the last cards, but
4 lanterns.
just casual.
Alright,
Oh,
so
he's
he had the
got all
option
the
to play
draws.
Big Tink. Looks like he's just going to go nuts on. He's going to draw 2 cards, discard 1. He's got a Smash, which is huge for taking care of that Tink.
Yeah, so order of operations there. Do you do Rockstar's effect first and then Simba's? Because you're tapping it with Rockstar and then you're getting Simba's effect after. So that's just small things, looking at the rules. I believe that is the case. Rockstar's triggers first and then Simba's triggers. Because if not, you have to draw, discard, and then draw. Versus draw, discard, which can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Josh is now getting that wide board state, which puts a lot of pressure on Holly. And even just grab your swords here doesn't really clear out too much. It does spread some damage, and having that Tinkerbell is nice, but being able to run like a Rapunzel in, grab your swords, and attacking with that Tinkerbell can clear out a lot of things. It could actually also get rid of the Surfer, or the Rockstar.
Well, assuming Tinkerbell runs into Simba instead of running her Rapunzel's in, it definitely is a good bait on Josh knowing he has the Smash. So, you run Tinkerbell into Simba, that's great, you killed it, and you maybe did 2 damage to the Rockstar. It's not going to take out the Rockstar, but you are definitely set up to be able to immediately smash the next turn, and that you not have to trade any of your cards to take care of that Tinkerbell, except your Simba, which it did its job. It protected the Rapunzel and the Stitch.
Yeah, no, it creates a lot of pressure. The only big thing that would be nice for Holly here would be a grab your swords. Being able to hard cast grab your swords here, and then trade a Rapunzel into the Simba, and then trade the Tinkerbell into the Rapunzel. That would also get rid of the Rockstar, the Rapunzel, the Simba, both Simbas, the Stitch, and leave the Ariel at 1. That would be a very nice tempo swing for Holly if she was to have the grab your swords here. She does have a Whole New World, we saw, and she looks like she's counting to see what and how many
she's only
grabs.
done 1 sword so far. So if she does a Whole New World here, there's a higher chance she grabs it, considering there's still 3 in the deck.
Yeah, I'd be.
So
She decides to do the running into Simba here.
so Josh reminds her you have to hit Simba first.
The bodyguard, man, it's sneaky. The 2 damage on here. Looks like Be Our Guest, Captain Hook, a Beast in a Whole New World is what's in Holly's hand. There was something to be said there about maybe using the Ariel to sing a Whole New World. You don't have really anything powerful in your hand, and having her grab your swords there could have been incredible.
Okay, so she decides to deal the 2 to Stitch just to clear the board.
I mean, what do you think about that with that option? Like, I would really have been inclined to play the whole new world there, considering Josh just drew a bunch of cards too.
I don't know.
Looks like
She's very
setting
behind on
up.
lore, so I don't know. I'm thinking, so sadly both Rapunzels would have died, but I almost wonder if there was the option of dealing that 2 to Rockstar. Well, Rockstar was on tap, so she couldn't attack onto it. Never mind.
Yeah, that was the
Rockstar
thing.
was safe.
You could do it with the line of play if you would have sung for Grab Your Swords, a whole new world, and get into a smash or a whole new world, or a Grab Your Swords could have been a really big impact.
At least by taking out the Stitch, there we go.
Stops
the
a
tanker.
transformation.
Yeah, it could have been
Sure.
a Rockstar. So maybe she was thinking that of like, she can't deal 2 Rockstar Stitches, let alone the one. So.
He's pretty powerful. He's a very shifty card.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I had to pull that.
I
Let's see
think
what...
he just drew swords. And we're just going to draw.
Oh, I got that Hades
We're
now
going to
too.
draw 76 cards now with Rockstar.
And just keeps the train going. Having the Hades, I've been loving Hades in an Amber Shell in general. Having the reoccurrence and being able to always Hades loop or get back Rapunzels, get back Ariels, get back Surfers, like, so incredibly strong.
I think Hades is very key for why the Ruby Amethyst isn't showing as much of like, how does Ruby Amethyst, does be Ruby Amethyst, but it's not Russian Hades.
Yeah.
Because they can, all the threats that they're killing with their dragon fires and their be prepared, they bring it right back.
Yep.
So it's very difficult to take care of some of the stuff multiple times. And you see with Rockstar's just now exerting for the first time. So you can't run Maui, you can't run Rafiki, you can't, there's just so many things you can't deal with. It's just sitting there, not exerted.
Yeah, allowing you for like infinite card draw potentially if you just keep getting into your 1-drops, and it lets you fill your hand with big threats. So if they clear that board, or you have another Rockstar, you're able to drop it, do the whole process again, and it becomes very oppressive. And then if you have, all those Hades, you just play Hades, get back Hades, play Hades, get back Hades, hold that Hades, and you keep making them answer 2 threats every turn.
So it looks like he's going to drop Hades. Let's see what he brings back. Didn't get to see it, but I think it was Simba.
Yeah, I mean, getting another having the bodyguard there is really strong too. It stops that Captain Hook from running into, let's say, the Rockstar, because he's going to have to run it into Simba unless Holly has an answer. She does have needs to be our guest, is probably thinking about playing down this Tinkerbell here and singing a whole new world. With probably the Ariel, since the Hook can trade more favorably.
Oh, looks like she's going to straight play Tinkerbell. Interesting. Yeah, I feel with the option of Ariel and Hook being able to sing, she really needed to be able to get a Grab Your Swords right now, because I don't think Tink is going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I would have definitely played the Tinkerbell there, but then sung. Oh,
there we go.
There we
so
go.
She's going to stay in a whole new world.
Let's see what options she can get into here. So another Hook, a Tinkerbell, a Stitch. I couldn't see the rest. It looked like there was a grab, but I could be wrong there. Lantern. Maybe it was a Beast. I couldn't really tell from that.
I think I saw swords.
Now, Grab Your Swords here would be very, very strong and could definitely be a nice turn for Holly.
It would take out everything but Rapunzel.
Yeah. But also, you got to think, Josh just drew a full hand too, so he's able to get everything back down on the board potentially. But Holly's not far behind.
Holly's showing her hand to us. 3 Rockstar Stitches she drew, and 2 regular Stitches. She's
setting it up.
Unlucky.
I at first I wasn't a giant fan of Captain Hook. But the more I played with him, the more and more I liked him. Not being able to be challenged by 3 costs, and him being able to be a 5/5 challenger, is really, really strong. Trades into a lot of things, and definitely makes an impact when you can get him out.
I wanted to really like him. I tried him a couple different times in my Amber Steel version, and It's the uninkable. As you see
Yeah.
Josh run the Cinderella, I actually prefer the Cinderella in this case because it's not it's that being able to quest for 2 late game. That Captain Hook is great, of course, when you shift and can take care of some stuff early, but late game he's just not as useful because he's only questing for 1. Yes, he can seem, but technically so can Cinderella. So, and I'm not saying that that's the only other card you would take out to replace him, but
No, all valid points to be made. And not being uninkable kind of loses value more later into the game. He's definitely strong because he's able to shift out on 3
this is true.
and sing Grab Your Swords or sing A Whole New World or really make a very strong impact. But you have Lanterns, you have Rockstar that you're doing on 4 or potentially Tink. So you have options, and a lot of these lists have actually foregone running small Tinkerbell in favor because you have other options you want to be doing on 3, like playing Ariel and other plays you could be making.
So Josh's board was too big for Ollie to take care of. Rockstar Stitches don't do much if they're not already in play. So yeah.
All right, so
Looks
it's a
like we're
1-on-1.
Yeah, it's 1-on-1. There's barely 4 minutes left, so we'll see how fast they can play a game. Looks like they are shuffling quicker than normal, try to get the game going real fast.
It becomes mentally draining playing it. It's like when you're playing the Amber Steel versus Amber Steel matchup, it's almost like playing Ruby Amethyst versus Ruby Amethyst, where the matches might not be as long, but there's so many moving pieces and so many things you need to be thinking about that it just becomes very much a chess game, and that it can be very mentally straining, doing that for game after game. Does take its toll after time. It looks like she mulliganed 3 there.
Josh mulliganed 5, I believe.
Okay, yeah, it looks like Holly did 3, kept 4. Starting out with the hook here, we see she has the lantern on 2. It also, Josh has a lantern as well. And this is always scary. When I see
look at his hand.
Stitch,
You see Lantern and Rockstar. So
that's the hand right there.
he is poised to be able to do his Rockstar Stitch immediately.
For me, I believe that turn 1 Lantern, or turn 1 Stitch into turn 2 Lantern into turn 3 Rockstar Stitch is probably the most powerful sequence of plays out of any deck you could have. Having that down on 3 is incredibly powerful. And every time I see Lantern out on 2 and there's a Stitch on board, I automatically get scared. That Rockstar is coming right after.
Here he comes.
Ain't gonna smash there. And there it is. And that's scary to have on board, but what's nice is Holly actually has a pretty good board to deal with that. Having the 2 Simbas and having a Captain Hook, it means Josh has to be careful of doing any actions with that Rockstar if he's not able to kind of get rid of that board.
And especially when that hits the field.
Yeah.
So that hook will trade to the Rockstar. In A Whole New World.
Nice.
Which is actually better for Josh, because I think that's what he would have liked to have, actually, because they usually set you up perfectly to be able to
flood
the next turn.
Yeah.
That being said, if he did that, that hook would have eaten him for breakfast.
Yes, and
And
that's
it probably would have been a good game.
That's where that hook can be really, really good. There's
You're right, it can.
Yeah. But again, there's always going to be niche situations where any card can be useful.
All right, Josh is drawing a bunch.
Yep, here goes the
Let's fill that board up.
the flood train. Ink and the Cinderella there, putting him at 3. So a total of 4 ink plus lantern. And Holly's at 4 ink plus lantern.
All right, so the game is basically ends in a draw, but definitely good back and forth. Very much who goes first obviously makes a difference. Obviously, those lanterns early make a huge difference in the early matchup. So anyone who is playtesting this, or they got their own Amber Steel and they're just looking for more games and get reps in to see how they would fare against it. Here's 2 decks that were pretty fairly similar, just some few minor tweaks. Neither of them run in the Lilo package. A lot of decks have kind of gone away from that because there's so many of Amber Steel now. Lilo dies pretty quickly, obviously, to your not only your early game Hook and Eric's, but then they also just play a Tink. Once again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in and watching some more games that we have here at the Cerberus Den. I really want to thank Jeremiah for coming out and helping us with our first video, doing some commentating on some games. And this weekend we are taking a break on doing a big tournament, but on November 12th we'll actually be hosting our first 1K tournament. So if you are in the Cincinnati area, or if you can get close to the Cincinnati area, we would love to have you come by. If you are looking for more content like this, we try to get as much real life games in as we possibly can compared to playing only online. We would love to get some feedback from everyone in the comments, what you like, what you don't like. Our goal is to make every video a little bit better each time. So if you could subscribe, we'd really appreciate that as well. Make sure you're not missing any videos. And if you are interested in seeing any of the tokens or our woodcrafted boxes, anything like that, our fun discard shirt that our team was wearing this past show, all of that, you can find that on Cerberus10.com. And once again, we hope to see you soon. And don't forget, at the Cerberus 10, 3 heads are better than 1.